Last evening, President Museveni added fuel to the fire on the standoff on the jurisdiction of the military courts. Museveni defended that the military courts have greatly helped in the stabilization of the country, especially against gun violence. Museveni says in any case, the military courts are subordinate to the general courts. However, this has sparked contention, especially coming a day after the Supreme Court issued a decision indicating that military personnel cannot appeal to civilian courts.
The President is better advised to leave the interpretation of laws to lawyers. The Supreme Court has told him that in criminal matters, you cannot appeal the decision of the General Court Martial Appeals Court. Their decision is final. If that is the case, then that court is being placed above scrutiny from civil courts in matters of criminal affairs. The argument that the Court Martial Appeals Court is subordinate to civilian courts is the correct position of the law, but it is not the practice. And the Supreme Court decision contradicts the President's statement on that.
The legal brains and disagreement with President Museveni on his assertion of stability, drawing from an ever-increasing rate of gun violence as reflected by the annual police crimes report.
The police annual report of 2023 at page 52. There were 300 deaths of murder by shooting. That means if there are 366 days in a year, that means that almost every day a Ugandan is killed by a gun. That's what you want to call stabilization.
Museveni's defense of the military courts is at a time when there is heavy public scrutiny of the military courts, especially after the incarceration of the National Unity Platform supporters and now the former four-time presidential candidate, retired Dr Kizza Besigye, whose lawyers have put up a spirited fight in the court-martial.
We are not allowed to start commenting who is right and who is wrong when a matter is before court. Now, for the president to come out now, at this time especially, when his nemesis, Kizza Besigye, is in the military court, and you praise the military court and you say you guys have done so well, you have stabilized this country. And Besigye is accused of offenses of destabilizing the country. It is telling them what to do. Do you expect that Besigye will get justice there?
It is also at a time when the Supreme Court justices are yet to dispose of an appeal that was lodged by the Attorney General challenging the decision of the Constitutional Court that annulled the trial of civilians in the court-martial.
What the President is doing, like I said, is to try and preempt and influence the pending decision of the Supreme Court about the trials of civilians in the military court. I pray and hope that the Supreme Court does not bulk to the pressure of the President, because that is calculated to influence them and their decision.
However, there is disagreement among the lawyers on the implication of the Supreme Court judgment in the case of Second Lieutenant Ambrose Ogwang in reference to the Constitutional Court decision that was appealed at the Supreme Court.
The contradiction. What the Supreme Court has said, and now that is the law, is that a soldier cannot be taken to civilian courts. Once he has been convicted this way, once he has gone through this process, you cannot take him that side. So ask yourself, let's now reverse it. Let's reverse it. If a soldier cannot be taken to a civilian court because a civilian court has no jurisdiction, why should you take a civilian to a military court? Why? I think we should start celebrating. I think we should start celebrating, because the Supreme Court is clearly setting the parameters in this decision.
This argument by analogy might sound reasonable, but it's not founded in the decision the court was concerned with. And I think that it is even no indication as to what the final decision of the Supreme Court is going to be in the appellate process that will determine whether court martials can try a civilian in the general court martial.
The legal experts argue that it is about time for the judiciary to speak up.
It's very clear that the presidents will not respect, it's not about respect institutions of government, especially the judiciary. And it's absurd that the courts have not come out to assert themselves as against the president. Such are the times when the Chief Justice has to come out clearly in defense of the judiciary. You cannot say one thing and do the other as head of the judiciary when you are under attack.
The 2021 general elections had several of the National Unity Platform supporters arraigned before the court-martial, like many other members of the public, many of whom are yet to receive justice. A year to the next general election, the matter is yet to be resolved, at least politically. Jackson Onyango, NTV.